Hey guys, it's great to meet you again at this tutorial. Today we'll model another chair produced by Ton Company. It is this retro style chair named Ironica. And this is the finished model. You can see that it's a bit complex. There are actually 6 sections to this chair. These 4 legs, crossbars, this support bottom frame, seat, bars, and this backrest. Without further ado, let's get started. To help you ease into the modeling process, download the file with starting curves from the website. And when you open it, this is how it looks like. You can see there are a lot of curves. And if you wonder how I did them, I actually tried to download all the resources from the Ton webpage. I downloaded these 2 pictures from front and from a right side, but I was not able to find the top picture, so I as well downloaded this mesh 3D object from the Ton website. You can get it in LBG format. But when I was doing these curves, I tried more to reference the pictures and dimensions than this actual object, mesh object. But it can be helpful if you're not able to find reference pictures to get a mesh object, but just try to stick more with the dimensions and pictures of an actual real physical object. Okay, so now let's start with the legs. I'm gonna turn off all these layers and I'm just gonna leave the legs layer on. And when you look into it, you can actually see that there are 3 curves, and the curves represent the position of the centers of the legs. When I turn off the picture, actually, right picture, I'm gonna go to the right view. You can see that it's in the central positions in the right view and then in the front view. So what we need to do is we need to bring the central positions into the right positions of where the legs actually are, not just in the right or front view. So I'm gonna use picture curve to view for that, and I'm gonna actually first create a new layer. Let's call it legs. Move into that. So now I'm gonna use the curve to view command for this, and then for this curve I can actually turn this off. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use pipe command to get from these curves an actual cylinder that's gonna taper to the bottom. Okay, so this leg, for the bottom I'm gonna use 11 millimeters, and for the top 17, and enter. And I'm gonna do the same for this back leg. So 11 and 17, enter. And you can see, if you're gonna check the picture again, that it's actually extending a bit at the bottom and at the top here. So then we're gonna use Boolean difference to get the right size for the legs. Let's now move to the frame. First, the frame side. So turn on the layer and create a new layer. Frame side. And what we're gonna do is that we're gonna extrude these curves that actually represent the edges of the frame, and we're gonna split it with this plane. And again, I did it from the front and right picture of the model. So I'm gonna extrude this curve over the plane. And I'm gonna split it with the plane. Let's use cap to close the whole object into a closed polysurface. And then we actually need to make this side, we need to make it vertical and not have it in this angle. Because when we're gonna be doing the frame back, the line here needs to match with the side here. So let's extrude this curve and scale it, and now split the whole object. Okay, and let's cap it. Okay, now we need to mirror it to the other side over the y-axis. And let's now move to the bottom of back frame. We actually don't need to have this on. Okay, so now for the back frame, you can see that here is this curve. And for that, we're gonna use the sweep 1. And then with the rest of the object, we're just gonna create planar surfaces, and then we join all the surfaces together into a closed polysurface. And if you're creating even the starting curves yourself and you wanna know how I did this curve, you can actually check out the tutorial with the IKEA chair where I explain how to do it properly. So let's use the sweep 1 with this polysurface edge and this polysurface edge. Yes. And now we're gonna use planar surfaces. This line, this one edge, second edge, and now this top surface. Okay, let's join it together, and we'd better get closed polysurface. That's how we know we did it right. Yes, closed polysurface. Actually, I didn't create a new layer for this back side, so frame back. Okay. Now we can start building the seat. So first, let's create the new layer seat. We can turn this off, even these two off, and let's turn on the seat layer. Actually, we don't need the circles now. Okay, so we need to get the right shape for the seat. And first, we need to extrude this curve on both sides. So check that on. And now let's split the curve with this help curve that represents the shape. Okay, you should get 2 pieces of this, and we don't need this piece. And again, if you're wondering how to properly draw this curve, check out the IKEA chair tutorial. Now let's offset this surface, offset surface by 5 millimeters. to make it a poly surface. And now this step is pretty similar to the tutorial with a Rhinoceros chair, even with IKEA chair, where I need to get curved edge here. So this, I already drew this curve. To help me with that, so I'm gonna explode the surface. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want to get curved edges, and I want to get this whole side of the seat in one piece. If I used just fillet, there would be more pieces, which would mean more work while mapping this object with a material. But if I use just sweep, there's gonna be only one surface. Let's now use the sweep. Sweep 2, because there are 2 rails. Let's do chain edges, yes. This edge. And this edge. And then this cross-section curve. Okay, and just as with the tutorial on Rhinoceros chair or even IKEA chair, we need to add slashes to get the right flow of these isocurves, which actually represent then how the material is going to be mapped onto the surface. So let's do that. So remember to turn on the osnaps and check the perpendicular osnap. And I'm gonna speed up the video as it's pretty tedious process. Okay, so now this should be done, so let's hit enter and okay. And let's join these 3 pieces together. And it's joined into closed poly surface. Always remember to check that. And now the last step for the seat is to create this dip in the middle of the seat, and for that we're gonna use cage edit. So let's do cage edit. Let's select the bounding box, C plane, and for the X direction we're gonna use 10 points. The same for the Y direction, and yeah, 4 points for the last direction. And degree 3. Let's do enter and enter. And now the circles are gonna help us with that. Switch to the top view. And now let's first select these 4 central points, all of them, and let's move them. We need to move them vertically. Move them vertically down by minus 14.5. And now let's select these points that are around the central 4 points. And we're gonna move these. Okay, again vertically by minus 8 millimeters. Okay, so now we should have the dip. We can create a new layer for the cage so that we can reference it later if we need it. But now the seat should be done. Now we need to adjust the frame, because when you turn the edit on, you can actually see that it's extending. So what we need to do is we need to boolean it, use the boolean difference with the seat. Boolean difference with the seat. Okay, and now we can delete this. And we only now should have the frame. Okay, we can actually turn this off. And now with the frame, we can use fillet by 0.2 millimeters. And we can do this, we don't have to do it with the sweep, as we're gonna use just box mapping for that. Okay, it's fillet edge, not fillet. Fillet edge. Okay. Fillet edge 0.2. Now it's correct. And as we're trying to actually match it to a real wooden object, we're even filleting these edges, the edges of the back and side that are actually blended together. Okay, so this is with the frame, and now we can do it as well with the legs. We can do boolean difference with this frame. Okay, and now we as well need to make it flat here. So we're gonna, let's just create a plane. And we're gonna split the legs with the plane. So split. Now we can cap it. Okay. And now for this edge, we're gonna use blend edge 2 millimeters. Blend edge 2 millimeters. And this edge and this edge. Okay. And up here, let me just turn it off. We're gonna use just fillet 0.1. Okay. we can mirror these legs to the other side by the y-axis, and we have the legs done. Actually, these two curves, let's just put them here. Legs, curve to view layer. Okay, so we have the legs, we have the frame and the seat. So now we can move on to the backrest. Let's turn on the layer backrest. And the steps are actually pretty similar to the frame back. What we are gonna do is that we're gonna create each side and then join it all together. So let's now create backrest layer and move into that. Let's now extrude this curve by 50, because this is just curved. There are no dips. For the front of the backrest, we need to use the sweep 1 with this rail and these curves as cross sections. Okay. Now we're gonna create just lines to help us make the sides, and they're just gonna be planar surfaces, so that's gonna be okay. So planar surface. Here, planar surface. Here, let's better use edge. And now for this top side, we need to actually use the sweep 2. We need to create first, and let's do it in the middle, or actually here, the sweep cross section curve. Let's use sweep 2. This, and then let's use this cross section here and here. We're gonna actually be deleting that, so we don't need to worry about these iso curves. And now let's join it all together. And then the bottom here. And it's closed below surface. Now we want to make this curved sides. So for that we're gonna use blend edge. And the radius gonna be 40 millimeters. So this edge and this edge. And we're using the blend edge command because it's gonna create better continuity right away. And then we're gonna use fillet edge for this one. Oh, and I wanna actually use 2 millimeters for that. Sorry about that. So 2 millimeters. And I want to have the side again only in one piece. So let's explode that. And let's delete these sides. And I actually here, yeah, you should have it in the starting curves. I also draw the sweep curve. So now we're gonna do sweep 2. Again, with chain edges on. Okay, so this is first edge and now the second edge. Okay. And cross section. And now we should use the add slash. And I'm gonna speed up the video again. Okay, so it should be it. Let's use OK and let's turn this off. And then these are these 4 lines and we don't need them anymore, so we can delete them. And the last line here. Yeah. And the last step is to join it all together. So let's use join. Yes, and now it's a closed poly surface. Okay, so this is it for the backrest. And now we can model the bars. So I'm gonna actually turn on the layer bars. And let me turn all of these layers off. And I'm gonna create a new layer bars. So what I need to do is to create a cylinder-like object again, but it's curved. So for that I'm gonna use loft, and I'm gonna loft these cross-section circles. I want to have the isocurves nicely linear. So for that, let's move the cross section to the starts of the circles here. Okay. Let's cap the object. And now here, let's use array along curve, array curve. This is gonna be the path curve, and I want to have 4 items on the curve. And I'm gonna mirror it to the other side. I can turn this off. And now with the backrest and with the seat, legs, everything, I can actually use the Boolean difference to get the correct size. And I want to subtract with the seat and with the backrest. Okay. So now that's it for the bars. And the last step is to create these crossbars here that are reinforcing the frame and the legs. Okay, so let's now move on to that. Let's turn on the layer crossbars. And first let's start with the side. It's gonna be pretty similar to the bars here. I already created the circles for you to loft. So I'm gonna use loft. These circles, yeah, and it's on the line, so that's fine. Okay. Let's cap it to create closed poly surface. Now let's move it to the position here between those two legs. So I'm gonna turn off the legs. Okay, and we haven't created the layer for that. So let's create layer crossbars. Okay, and now let's move to that position. Okay, let's move the center to the center here. Okay, and now we need to get the correct size. Okay, let's just use first the mirror just to be on the safe side, and now we can use the Boolean difference. Okay, so that's it for the crossbars, for the side crossbars, and now we're gonna do the same for this crossbar. So loft. Okay, that's fine. Let's cap it. And let's use Boolean difference. Okay, and let's move it to the right layer. Okay, and that should be it for this model. So congratulations on finishing another model, and I'm gonna be happy to meet you at other tutorials.